at Chicago. I'm going with the Saints. Ryan Risky is going with the Bears. He's actually going to the game. I think this is his fourth Bears game this year, and they have 8 home games. So add up the money there. The Saints are just. I just think Drew Brees is he'll be able to tear the Bears defense. I know he hasn't had a good year at all now either, but when it comes down to Jay Cutler versus Drew Brees, I'll take Drew Brees in that matchup. Ryan Risky's going with the Bears. I hope he sees a win, not at the expense of me winning, though, because honestly, the Bears season doesn't matter anymore. And at this point, I don't mind rooting against the Bears. I think it's kind of funny and comical at this point. So, yeah, I'm going with the Saints. Ryan Risky is going with the Bears. So we will recap our picks really quick. We both went with Arizona over St. Louis, so we got a point there. So going into Sunday's games, Ryan Risky and I are tied at 1 win apiece. Pittsburgh and Atlanta, we're both going with the Steelers. Washington and the Giants, we're both going with the Giants. Miami and New England, we're both going with New England. Oakland and Kansas City, we're both going with Kansas City. Houston and the Colts, we're both going with the Colts. Jacksonville and Baltimore, we're both going with Baltimore. Green Bay at Buffalo, we're both going with Green Bay. Tampa Bay and Carolina, we're both going with the Panthers in Carolina. Cincinnati at Cleveland. Ryan Risky's going with Cleveland. I am going with Cincinnati. The Jets at Tennessee. Ryan Risky's going with Tennessee. I am going with the Jets. Denver at San Diego. We are both going with Denver. Minnesota at Detroit. We are both going with Detroit. San Francisco at Seattle. We're both going with Seattle. Dallas and Philadelphia. We're both going with Philadelphia. In a somewhat surprising pick, I guess you could say. And New Orleans and Chicago. I'm going with the Saints. Ryan Risky is going with the Bears. So somebody will definitely win and lose this week. We didn't pick all the games exactly correct this time. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But, it's a pretty safe bet that this is going to come down to the wire again, as it does a lot of times. So, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But, just going back to the Bears thing, they play the Saints Monday night. I think it would be pretty funny if the Bears had a boycott of some sort where, none of the fans showed up. I know they paid for their tickets and they're going to want to go anyway, but, it's just embarrassing. I wouldn't want to go stand out there in the cold just to see a losing team play, especially with how bad they're doing. I mean, there hasn't been this much fan disappointment ever, almost ever, as far as I can recall. In the last 10 years, at least, there hasn't been any fan resentment quite like this. I mean, we always had a good defense. We always had a serviceable offense, not the best, but now it's flipped the other way around. And I think it's really showed you, everybody wanted Lovie Smith gone. Everybody, I was included. I was, the poster child for that. I wanted Lovie Smith gone, and then we finally got what we wanted. But how's it working out now? I'm not still sure it's working out very well. When you hired Mark Trestman, somebody who doesn't know how to coach in the NFL, can only coach in the CFL, which is pretty much like the Chicago Rush, and then the Arena Football League is what it's compared to, in my opinion. It's tough. It's going to be a tough battle. They should have went after Bruce Arians when they had the chance. If they couldn't get Bruce Arians, they should have gone after somebody with, someone who's a proven, and I've said this a lot, a proven winner. Someone who's won in the NFL, somebody who has good NFL experience, somebody like Bill Parcells, but not necessarily Bill Parcells, because I don't know if I necessarily want Bill Parcells, but, somebody like him, somebody who can win. Obviously it was time for a change with Lovie Smith. I agree wholeheartedly with that. It was time for Lovie Smith to go. But it might not have been time for Lovie Smith to go at the expense of hiring Mark Trestman and with the expense of having awful draft picks. There's nobody to back up Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey. That's the thing. They have nobody that can step up when people are hurt and when people are down and when people aren't doing well. They only had the one good thing last year when Jay Cutler got hurt. They had Josh McCown, and Josh McCown slid right in, and they did pretty well because their offense was rolling. Had nothing to do with Josh McCown being a good quarterback. We see that in Tampa Bay. He sucks now. But Jay Cutler, I'm not so sure if that extension, a lot of people think that we should have franchise tagged him. I'm starting to agree with that, obviously. But, I still don't like when people hate on him so much. I mean, come on. Josh McCown right now, the Bears would have like 2 or 3 wins. I mean, the Bears would be the complete laughing stock of the NFL. They're the laughing stock of the NFC North, and they're the laughing stock considering all the high expectations that they had going into the season. But I mean, if you had Josh McCown right now, you would suck. You would be even worse. And it's hard to imagine that the Bears could be any worse than they are right now. But they could be even worse with Josh McCown. So, I hate that argument, and I wish people would stop making it.
The Fantasy Fanatics Podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.